Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some ancient Indian texts today. You guys sent in a source called Brahma Purana 44.mp3. And, well, it sounds like it's full of wild stories. We're talking sacred geography, mythology, that deep human desire for liberation, the kind that transcends lifetimes. You ready to unpack this?
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how this text connects those huge concepts. We'll see how the actual landscapes described are almost like, maps for the inner journey toward moksha, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just where these stories take place, it's what those places represent on a deeper level.
Exactly. Let's start with King Janaka. He was a ruler known for his virtues, descended from Vivasvata Manu, a key figure in Hindu mythology.
So royalty, but also someone deeply invested in his spiritual side.
Yes, and his wife, Gunavati, was equally devoted. She was the daughter of Varuna, the god of water, and their union was seen as one that really fostered spiritual growth.
So how does a king, someone with power and worldly responsibilities, even begin to seek this kind of liberation?
Well, King Janaka, yearning for moksha, he first consulted his guru for guidance, and then he went straight to the source, the god Varuna himself.
Wow. Going right to the divine hotline, what kind of advice did Varuna give him?
This is where it gets really interesting. Varuna laid out two paths to liberation, one through action, known as karma, and the other through inaction. But he emphasized that he favored the path of action, particularly fulfilling one's dharma.
Dharma, for those of us who aren't familiar.
Think of it as your duty, your purpose in life. It's about fulfilling your role within the ashramas, the stages of life, and the varnas, the social classes.
So it's not about renouncing the world, but engaging with it in a way that's aligned with your purpose.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that Varuna highlighted the householder stage, the grihastha ashrama, as a powerful path to both worldly enjoyment and liberation. Like it's suggesting that material and spiritual fulfillment aren't mutually exclusive. Have you ever felt that pull in both directions?
All the time. It's like figuring out how to pursue your dreams and passions while staying grounded, connected to something bigger.
Exactly. And the text seems to suggest that finding that balance is key. Now, to tie this back to King Janaka's quest, Varuna pointed him to a specific place, Bharatavarsha, specifically the Dandaga forest.
How does this location play into achieving liberation?
Well, within this forest, the Godavari River, also called Gautami Ganga, is considered incredibly sacred and purifying. Varuna revealed that by performing rituals like yajnas, or sacrifices, and dana, or acts of charity, on the banks of the Godavari, one could attain moksha.
So we're starting to see this connection between inner transformation and outer physical landscapes.
Right, and for King Janaka, this wasn't just some abstract concept. He actually went and performed these grand yajnas on the banks of the Godavari, and as the story goes, he did achieve liberation.
Wow, so this place must hold some serious energy.
It's considered so powerful that the site where King Janaka performed his rituals became known as Janastan. And it's believed that even simply remembering Janastan can help one on the path to liberation.
Okay, so we've got this king who achieved moksha through action, specifically through rituals at this incredibly sacred spot. It makes me wonder about the other characters in this text.
Let's talk about Usha, the wife of Surya, the sun god. Imagine being married to the sun.
That's a whole other level of heat.
Right. The text explains that Usha couldn't bear the intensity of her husband's heat, so she did something extraordinary. She created a shadow self to take her place.
Hold on, a shadow self. Is this like an ancient version of a body double? What does she do with this shadow?
She instructed it to care for her husband and children while she went on a journey of intense penance.
A penance. So this wasn't just about escaping the heat. It was a deeper spiritual pursuit. Where did she go?
To Uttarakuru, a mythical land in the north, and she took the form of a mare for her penance.
Now that's a twist I wasn't expecting. What happens next?
Well, Surya, disguised as a horse, followed Usha to Uttarakuru. Their union led to the birth of the Ashwini Kumaras, the twin gods of medicine.
Okay, so we've got some divine romance and intervention happening here.
And these events are directly tied to specific sacred sites mentioned in the text, Ashvatirtha, Bhanutirtha, and Panchavati Ashrama. It's as if the landscape itself becomes imbued with the power of these myths.
So we're seeing this interplay between personal journeys, divine intervention, and specific locations that are considered sacred. It's starting to feel like a map, but not just a geographical one.
You're catching on. The text seems to be presenting a map of sorts, but one that guides you through both inner and outer landscapes. And there's still more to explore in this map.
I'm all ears. What else does this text reveal?
Well, this is where we dive into a story about a truly unique confluence of rivers, Remember Usha's children?
You mean the twins born from her union with Surya?
Yes, but also her daughter Yamuna. Both Yamuna and her half-sister Tapti, another of Surya's daughters, embark on journeys to meet their father.
So it's a family reunion, but on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. And here's where the geography comes back in. Tapti and Yamuna transformed into rivers, the Aruna and Varuna, and flowed to meet their father Surya, who was already present in the form of the Godavari River.
Wow, so it's not just a meeting of rivers, it's a meeting of divine beings in a very tangible form.
You got it. And this confluence of the Aruna, Varuna, and Godavari is considered incredibly sacred. It's believed to contain the essence of 27,000 other sacred rivers.
27,000. That's a number that's hard to even fathom. What's the significance of that?
It speaks to the profound belief in the purifying power of this confluence. The text even suggests that simply remembering this spot can wash away sins.
So just like with Janistan, the power isn't just in the physical location, but in the act of remembering it.
It seems so. We're seeing the theme of the power of belief, intention, and remembrance emerge. And it's not something I think we can all relate to, even today.
Absolutely. So far, we've explored a king's quest for liberation, a goddess's extraordinary journey, and this mind-blowing convergence of divine rivers. Where do we go from here? I'm ready to dive even deeper.
Yeah, there's definitely more to uncover here. What strikes me is how these stories aren't just entertaining myths. They offer a glimpse into human search for meaning, for purpose. That longing to balance our earthly desires with spiritual aspirations. It's something we still grapple with today, right?
Totally. It's like these ancient tales are speaking to something timeless within us. But how do we make sense of the fantastical elements, like Usha creating a shadow self? It's hard to imagine doing that during my morning commute.
Right. It's tempting to dismiss them as pure fantasy. But what if we look at them as metaphors? Usha's shadow self could represent those different aspects of ourselves we all juggle. The parts we show the world versus the parts we keep hidden, or even the roles we play in different areas of our lives.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. It makes me think about the times I felt pulled in different directions, or like I'm wearing different hats depending on who I'm with. Do you think the text is saying we need to somehow integrate these different selves?
That's a great question, and one worth pondering. If we connect this back to the theme of liberation, maybe it's less about merging into one perfect self, and more about understanding and accepting those different aspects. After all, even the gods and goddesses in these stories have multiple forms and roles.
It's like they're showing us that transformation and change are part of the journey, both internally and externally. Speaking of transformations, the story of Usha taking the form of a mare raises another question for me. What's with all the shape-shifting in these ancient texts? It seems like everyone's changing into animals or disguising themselves.
It's a recurring motif for sure. One way to interpret it is as a reflection of the fluidity of identity, the way we constantly evolve and change throughout our lives. Each new role we take on, each challenge we overcome, can be seen as a kind of transformation.
So it's not just about gods and goddesses having magical powers. It's about highlighting the transformative potential within all of us.
Precisely. And this ties back to the idea that our environment, both physical and mental, plays a role in that journey. Just as the Godavari River is believed to hold purifying power, the choices we make, the thoughts we cultivate, can also shape our inner landscape.
Okay, that makes sense. But it also brings up something I've been wondering about. The text places a lot of emphasis on specific locations, like Janistan or the confluence of the three rivers. What about those of us who can't physically travel to those places? Are we missing out on that transformative power?
That's a really insightful question, and the text seems to address this directly. Remember how even remembering Janistan is believed to have a positive effect?
Yeah, it's almost like the energy of those places transcends physical boundaries.
Exactly. And it's not just Janistan. The text emphasizes the power of remembrance for the river confluence as well. It's as if the act of remembering, of focusing our attention and intention on those sacred spots, creates a kind of energetic bridge.
So it's not just about being there physically, but about the power of belief, visualization, focused intention. That's actually really empowering.
It is. It suggests that we have more agency than we might realize. We can tap into those energies even from afar by consciously directing our thoughts and beliefs.
Okay, this is starting to blow my mind a little. We've gone from geography to personal transformation to the power of belief. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together, but I have to admit, some of these stories, like Usha escaping Surya's heat, can feel a bit intense. How are we supposed to relate to these ancient myths in a modern context?
That's where critical thinking comes in. Remember, these stories have been passed down through generations, shaped and reshaped by countless storytellers. They're not meant to be taken literally, but rather as invitations to explore deeper truths about ourselves and the world around us.
So it's less about finding a definitive answer and more about asking the right questions.
Exactly. What resonates with you in these stories? What parts challenge your assumptions? What sparks your curiosity? Engaging with those questions can be more valuable than trying to decode some hidden meaning.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to get caught up in trying to figure out the right answer when sometimes the most powerful insights come from leaning into the mystery and complexity.
Absolutely. And that's one of the beautiful things about these ancient traditions.
Yeah.
They invite us to participate in an ongoing conversation, a dialogue that spans millennia.
It's like we're joining a lineage of seekers, each generation adding their own layer of interpretation and understanding.
Yes. And within that lineage, there's space for each of us to find our own meaning and connection.
So what do we do with all of this? We've explored this incredible tapestry of sacred geography, mythology, personal transformation. We've talked about the power of remembrance, the inevitability of change, the importance of critical thinking. Where do we go from here?
You're right. We've covered a lot of ground. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question, something to contemplate as you continue exploring these ancient texts.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. Lay it on us.
If a place can be so powerful that even remembering it can lead to liberation, what does that say about the power of belief and intention? How can we harness that power in our own lives to create positive change, both within ourselves and the world around us?
That is a powerful question, and one that I think we'll all be wrestling with long after this deep dive is over. It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? It's like these stories are speaking to us across time, reminding us that we're not just like watching this grand cosmic play. We have the power to actually shape things, our reality, internally and externally.
Yeah, it's a power that comes from cultivating awareness, intention, belief. If just remembering a sacred place can have that transformative effect, imagine what we can achieve when we consciously direct our thoughts and actions toward, a desired outcome.
It's almost like we're being invited to become active participants in our own evolution, personally and collectively.
Exactly. And brings us back to the idea of Dharma. It's not just about fulfilling our own individual purpose. It's also about contributing to the well-being of the world around us. Our actions, they have this ripple effect. And by aligning ourselves with our Dharma, we can actually contribute to a more harmonious, balanced existence for everyone.
So it's not just about seeking personal liberation, it's about recognizing our interconnectedness, right? And using our unique gifts to, make a positive impact.
Precisely. And that's one of the most beautiful things about these ancient traditions. They offer this really holistic worldview where the spiritual, the material, the personal, and the cosmic are all kind of woven together.
It's like they're reminding us that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves, and that even seemingly small actions can have big consequences.
Absolutely. And that's something I think we can all take with us as we continue to explore these texts and, contemplate their relevance in our modern lives. Finding that balance between inner transformation and outward action, recognizing our interconnectedness, embracing the power of belief and intention to create, a more meaningful and fulfilling existence for ourselves and for future generations.
It's been incredible exploring these ancient Indian texts with you. It feels like we've only scratched the surface, but I know the insights we've uncovered will stick with me.
The pleasure's been all mine. And remember, the journey doesn't end here. These texts are like living wisdom, constantly evolving, revealing new layers of meaning as we continue to engage with them. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep that spark of curiosity alive.
And to you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's been as thought-provoking and inspiring for you as it has been for us. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep embracing the transformative power within you.